and welcome. It's that time. Yeah, once again, the Patriot Radio News Hour for over 2 decades right here. One of the longest-running financial shows in the world today. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com, where we try to keep all of you in the know, all the articles, the videos, all the information on our metals program or IRAs or whatever it may be, the social media. We got it all out there. Woke up this morning, Arlene texted me. She was under the weather. So for those of you that are picking up today, if you're lucky enough, my wife, my lovely, beautiful wife, is here today and filling in for at least for a little while. And everybody, if you've never met her, when you see her, you're like, how did he do that? Because she's got mental problems. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, look at me, then you look at her, then you look at me again. You're like, it doesn't add up. But that's what I do. And that's why so many people, I think, can take what I say and know it must be true, because look at how well I married. 800-951-0592. That is the toll-free number. Before I forget, because I'm not really good at this stuff, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, because tomorrow I may not remember that it's this weekend. And then my mom, her birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday to my mommy. She's I won't say, I guess you don't say people's ages anymore, but let's just say that she's getting up there. But happy birthday to my mom, and happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. That's a tough job. It really is, especially since just about everybody in the country now has to be mom. A lot of them have to be mom and dad, and, of course, mom, dad, and I got to work. But that's the new America that we live in today. I will tell you that I've been there was a new announcement out of Casey Research. Doug Casey, I know a lot of you follow him, talking about a pending event coming on July the 21st, having to do with that coincides, by the way, with a G20 meeting. And they believe I didn't get all the way through it. It's a pretty long video. I'm going to send the link to Ramon. I'll have it up on our site tomorrow. I'll just say this: I probably listened to the first 20 minutes already. I had no idea how long it was, and then I had to get on and do this show. But if you, and it's not just for people that are owners of Bitcoin, okay? So, but this has to do with at least Casey Research saying that the G20 meeting, the world could ban most of the cryptos out there. Matter of fact, I think 99.9% of them, talking about the only ones that are going to be around are going to be the ones that are issued through the government. And it does tie in. They make a lot of good points in the video. Remember what we talked about? I don't know if it was earlier this week or late last week, in the writings at the St. Louis Federal Reserve, talking about how they envision their role in cryptocurrency, and saying that, hey, you know what? We're not going to issue a currency. What we're going to do is force all payments to go through the central bank. And the ultimate big brother, if you will. And, of course, at that point, if that's the case, right, there is no other form of currency, right? Everybody's got to register through the central bank. I don't know. I will do this, though, and again, these are people, Doug Casey's been around for a long, long, long time. He's a credible guy. They do a lot of good research there, but I'll put it up on the site tomorrow. I was going to play, and maybe I will. Maybe I can work with Ramon, and maybe we'll play some of it tomorrow. And again, I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I've listened enough to where at least you need to know. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it'll be up there and available to you. There's some new information that I was unaware of that they've talked about. E.B. Tucker was the guy from Casey Research that was in the video, and he was saying how because the lack of Americans who filed taxes on Bitcoin, that the IRS has demanded from Coinbase, which, by the way, for those in the United States, that's the big, I guess, server or whatever. That's where you go to buy and sell your Bitcoin. Coinbase is being now forced to turn over all the records. And, of course, the IRS said they were going to do so. According to what I read today or what I heard today in this video from Casey, that has come to fruition. And they're saying that the July the 21st, coinciding with a meeting of the G20, and again, I don't know, but having said that, I think it's something where if it's not then, I believe they're on the right track because I've said it all along, right? I think Bitcoin is going, and I say Bitcoin, and I really mean cryptocurrency, all these cryptos. They're going to go to zero because the government's going to want to control it. And that's just my opinion on it. And whether it's July the 21st or not, I think they're on the right track. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be right back. (800-951-0592). Gold's up 6 today. Silver's up 20 cents. Gold $13.20. Silver $16.65. As the CPI came out today, they call it the Consumer Price Index, right? It's supposed to tell everybody how good of a job the Federal Reserve does in keeping a stable dollar. In other words, hey, prices aren't going up too fast, or they're not going down too quickly, and you know, they're just right. You know, the Goldilocks, not too hot, it's not too cold, and somehow they convinced us that 2% is wonderful. 2% devaluation of your money, such a great thing, isn't it? But let's face it. I was thinking about this morning, as because I knew the report was coming out. And I'm thinking about, you know, in the business world, you know, even in government that we set up, right? We set up these checks and balances, you know, the three branches of government, and we do in business, right? You close your books every month, and you do inventory. You know, if you're in like the retail game, right? You do inventory at least once a year, right? You have somebody come in and count all the stuff and do all that stuff, and you make sure, hey, no one's ripping you off, and you got what you think you got, and all that stuff. Why would we allow for the same group of people who are in charge of, you know, supposedly keeping a stable dollar, be the ones that can dictate what that means? In other words, the Federal Reserve, every so often, and we know they just change the formula, right? It's like the wolf guarding the hen house. Right. They come out with this report to say, hey, it was only 0.2% this month. Everything's great. But how did they come up with the number, and why were they the ones that are able to change what the formula is? And, of course, as we all know, all of us know that's not true. Did you see gas prices just this month? That alone is 0.2%. But nonetheless, it came in and it wasn't as bad as it could have been, which got the dollar falling, gold rallying, silver rallying, and I just kind of, it really brings up this next question, and I'll talk about this video we're going to post again tomorrow for one more second. Well, a couple minutes. One of the things that they did in the video, they started really making a timeline of all of the things and not just our government and central bank, but all the things that have happened recently. And I say recently, let's talk about like the last 3 or 4 or 5 years from them coming out and what they're doing. We talk about what the IRS has been doing. Remember, they brought up remember the big banks, right? No more cash, no more gold and silver in your safety deposit boxes, and talking about the dealing in cash and how only bad people use cash and all of these other things. And then they talked about a lot of different meetings that we hadn't even talked about here that have occurred, and major banks, credit. They brought up how, and I don't think I even mentioned this, MasterCard, Visa, Discover, right? They all banned payments in Bitcoin, talking about how the banks now, you can't even go into your bank. Let's say you have a credit card with Bank of America or JP Morgan, or you have a mortgage with them, or any type of loan with them. You cannot pay that in cash at the bank. They won't take it, right? And all of these other things, and all of these new things that have been coming down the pipeline. So get ready for that. We'll have that up there tomorrow, and I just think it's if nothing else, I don't know about their timeline of July the 21st, but even if they're off on that, it is jam-packed with information about all of these things where if you looked at it on their own, hey, Visa banned cryptocurrency, or Facebook says, hey, you can't talk about or promote cryptocurrency on Facebook anymore, or you can't put gold into your safety deposit box, or this central bank banned all of their notes or their high denomination bills, like the $500 euro note, right? If you looked at that separately, you may not be able to connect all the dots. And if nothing else, man, these guys are connecting them all. So be ready for that. I want to encourage you to get out there. And most importantly, when you talk about why you want to have some wealth insurance, I think that's going to drive the point home. It's another bad day. Speaking of banks, Wells Fargo having another issue. Matter of fact, they've had 2 different issues in the last couple of months now. Another banking scandal. Banking scandals are happening with such regularity now, it's almost comical. And it really is. You think about all these banks and all the fines. Just late last week, Goldman Sachs had to pay another $180 million or something like that fine. This one, though, another one from Wells Fargo. They got fined $1 billion last week, 2 weeks ago, right? That was their punishment for ripping off all of their customers, right? $1 billion. No one went to prison. I mean, nothing really happened except, pay $1 billion and we'll forget about it. That was the penalty that they defrauded 570,000 clients. Oh, that was the car insurance scam. The bank's own estimate that 20,000 of their clients had their vehicles illegally repossessed, right? And we know about that, and we know about how they created all of these fake accounts. But now Wells Fargo is being investigated by the United States Department of Labor. This time, the bank is accused of deliberately pushing customers into more expensive, higher-fee retirement accounts. I mean, have they missed anything? And here's the other thing. Wells Fargo's the only one? Come on. Really? They're the only bad apple in the bunch. I highly doubt it. Accounts that are bad for their customers but made the bank more money. Month after month, we continue to see Wells Fargo brought up on all these different types of issues. So now they're being investigated. We don't know the answer yet. This is just an investigation that Wells Fargo, in their 401ks and all their other retirement of vehicles that they are pitching to their customers, was set up for them to put you into products that made them a bunch more money. Then this morning, that was last week. Matter of fact, that may have been 2 weeks ago. I haven't gotten to it. This morning, Wells Fargo is acknowledging it improperly collected fee rebates that should have been given to a public pension fund while acting as its trustee. The bank said it made a mistake when it was setting up the rebates and said that $15,000 in fees has been returned to Chattanooga, Tennessee's Fire and Police Department fund. See, it was just a mistake. The bank made the statement to CNBC after the Wall Street Journal reported that the fund's board had grilled the bank last month over what it considered to be a suspicious practice in the institution's retirement and trust unit. So again, and this is part of the problem, it's a criminal organization. The mob would be jealous of these guys. The loan sharks treat you better. The quick cash companies would treat you better. At least they're above board and honest about what they're going to charge you. And here's what really gets me: they didn't come out. It'd have been one thing if Wells Fargo had made this announcement on their own. I would have still, let's face it, I would have still hit them. But I would have at least recognized, hey, at least you're coming out and saying, hey, you know what, we did this, and we caught it, and we're going to fix it. Not what happened. What happened was the Wall Street Journal ran an article about it earlier today. And now they're coming out and saying, oh, yeah, we did this. In 2016, Wells acknowledged pervasive issues with its sales practices, including setting up more than 3 million fake accounts, and we know all that stuff. Now, according to the article from the Wall Street Journal, Wells Fargo was caught by the Chattanooga Pension Fund of essentially, I don't know what you want to call it, a mistake or stealing $15,000. I mean, one or the other, right? I mean, it can't be both. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe they mistakenly stole it. How are they still in business? I mean, this is supposed to be, right? This is why, allegedly, we created this central bank, right? You go back to the original doctrine, right? They were supposed to be the watchdog over these banks. And now, when we find out time and time and time again that nothing really happened. The consumer gets hit, the pension funds get hit, whatever they've dealt, I don't know that they missed anything. Every single thing they had their hands on, they've been found of misdoing. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe for 1 second. Now, Wells Fargo may have been the worst of the baddest of the apples. But you can't convince me that they're the only one. And really, when you think about it, it's probably why no one ever turned them in. You know what I'm saying? Why none of these other? Why wouldn't Jamie Dimon come out and say that's impossible? Remember the guy that turned in Bernie Madoff, and they wouldn't listen to him. Right? They didn't listen to him because they wanted to believe Bernie Madoff and said, even though he showed them the facts that it's impossible for him to have the returns he's saying that he's having. And he showed the SEC all the documentation and all that stuff, and of course, they didn't do anything about it. We haven't even heard that. Not another single bank anywhere was like, hey, that's impossible what they're doing. Right? Remember why Warren Buffett used to tell everyone what a great bank they were? Because they were the best at what they called cross-selling. That's what they used in the, cross-selling in the industry. Hey, you opened up an account with us, and then we got you to open up this account and that account and take this loan and set up this retirement account. They were great. Well, when you're overcharging and ripping people off, it makes a lot of sense. How about this one? Remember Enron and the rolling blackouts in California? Well, apparently, according to California, rolling back blackouts may be back. Hopefully there's not an Enron behind it. California's electric grid operator has forecast that power supplies are going to be tight this summer due to below average hydropower production and reduced generation, according to its assessment released yesterday. The California Independent System Operator, the grid operator for the state of California, says that the system's capacity to serve customers will be very tight in high load periods this summer. Here we go again. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily commentary continuing the conservative pro-family legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. Now, the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
Earlier this year, the FBI's own disciplinary office recommended the firing of its disgraced former deputy director, Andrew McCabe, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions pulled the trigger. But former deep staters sprang to the defense of McCabe as if on cue and tweeted insults at the people's leader they hate, President Trump. Chief among the chorus of former bureaucrats was John Brennan, who ran the CIA during Obama's second term. Brennan admitted he voted for the Communist Party in 1976, so it is unsurprising he would rant against Trump's effort to clean house. Quickly, McCabe received multiple job offers from Democrat politicians to bolster his pension, which would be at additional taxpayer expense. He could also garner big bucks from a lecture tour at liberal universities, or, like his mentor James Comey, write a self-serving book with a hefty advance royalty. Better yet, McCabe could form a band with Brennan, Comey, and James Clapper, all of whom are out of their positions but still dominate the news. They could name their band Deep State Blues and perform to empty houses across Middle America. Trump played to a packed house in western Pennsylvania days before these developments, delivering a magnificent speech that was decried by the media but loved by the grassroots. Trump laid out how he is trying to exorcise the evil that permeates D.C., and D.C. is fighting back like a trapped animal. Fortunately, Trump does have some allies on Capitol Hill on this issue. Senator Rand Paul rebuked Brennan for his attack on Trump, pointing out that what is really disgraceful is how Brennan had the power to search every American's records without a warrant, and how that's an attack on the freedom of every American. In another example, the IRS has refused to stop the use of 1.3 million stolen or bogus Social Security numbers of employed illegal aliens, and this has compelled the fearless Tom Homan of ICE to risk the lives of agents by conducting raids across the country. The public overwhelmingly opposes employers hiring illegal aliens, jobs that could go to Americans, and the IRS could easily stop the illegal employment without putting the lives of enforcement agents at risk.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report with Ed Martin, president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. And we think it's time to take Washington back from the power brokers. At phyllisschlafly.com, we're organizing a grassroots movement to stand against the deep state bureaucrats who control government. For the latest strategies, go to phyllisschlafly.com. That's phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next time for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. Gold is now up 7.5. Silver up 22 cents now, 16.70 on silver. U.S. Silver Eagles, we've been talking about it. It's here. So I have no backdate Silver Eagles available Today, I apologize for it. Nothing I can do about it. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles are now at $400 to the roll. Today, I've got no Saints, right? We're going on what now? Day 4, day 5 now, without any raw $20 Saints. We ran 62 and 63 Saints to kind of make up for that. Those are gone. Today, I've got about 50 U.S. $20 Liberties, and here's how it's going to work as we start to see this supply disappear. We've kind of seen sellings come to a stop. The buying has really picked up, and we're seeing it here. This is by far the busiest we've been in the last 18 months, without a doubt. We're going to start seeing premiums rise. We just saw it on the Silver Eagles. We're seeing it now in the gold market. When we start going out of stock, then what happens is these wholesalers out there that are all over the world, and of course we do business with the biggest one. They start paying more for stuff, and when they pay more for stuff, they charge us more for it. I mean, you know how that works, the law of supply and demand. But I do have about 50 $20 Liberties, $13.95. So below $1,400. So that it's still really, when you think about, Colts $13.20, $13.21, just a fantastic opportunity. And then just start looking. We're going to start seeing about $10 increment increases in the $20 in gold, Liberty, and Saint markets until the supply and demand get back in line. And right now, we're probably against what I would say normal markets. We're probably about $50 to $75 under price. So we've got a ways to go. Don't be surprised if things go the way Casey Research says that's going to be happening in July. I would not be surprised to see those premiums immediately snap back. Bank of America was out the other day. They reiterated what Jeffrey Gundlach said last week. Remember, I told you last week, $13.75. Everybody keep your eye focused on that. You want to be buying gold before it gets there. They essentially reiterated the research that Gundlach already did, that gold, when it breaches $13.75, will again race to new highs. So be prepared for that. Get ready for that. Will that tie in with the event that Doug Casey and his group are calling for on July 21st? We don't know. But it's starting to make a lot more sense. And then this one, I'm keeping track of how the Chinese oil futures contracts are doing, because I wanted to see. I know that they started off, really good, right? And it was new, and I thought, okay, that's not a great sign for us, but it's new. Maybe now that it's been, we're coming up here on, 6-7 weeks now of this contract, maybe things are slowing down. It's not what's happening. A little more than a month now since China officially began offering oil futures contracts denominated in the yuan currency. Early results continue to be extremely positive for this contract to, over time, take more and more market share from the West and the petrodollar. And again, remember, there's only really one significance here. Think about the Iran thing right now, right? Iran has gotten to the point now where they don't need to sell their oil in dollars anymore. So, yes, the United States could sanction them, but people can still buy Iranian oil. They just don't need dollars to do it. And then they got to, the repercussion would be, well, then you're going to make the United States mad. China doesn't care. What are they going to do, right? They're going to do it. So I think so are a lot of, Germany wasn't on board, France wasn't on board, right? A lot of these other countries weren't on board, and they don't have to. They're saying now the new currency swap agreement on May 3rd was signed between Nigeria and China. They've already signed swapped agreements with Iran, Qatar, and Venezuela. Now, of course, Venezuela is really not producing much oil right now. But think about it. They've set up these agreements now with Iran, Qatar, now Nigeria, which is now that's the fourth OPEC nation now to work out these agreements with the Chinese. The Central Bank of Nigeria signed a currency swap deal worth $2.5 billion with the People's Bank of China to provide adequate local currency liquidity between the two nations. The newspaper reported this morning, citing a high-ranking official in the Central Bank of Nigeria. And then they start showing all the contract volumes on the Chinese oil contracts or futures contracts for buying oil or using the ability to hedge the oil market in Chinese currency continues to be extremely strong. China now says that it has direct currency swaps with more than 30 nations, including, some of the big ones you may have heard of: Japan, France, Australia, right? Of course, the oil ones that we've mentioned. China now, along with others, slowly but surely taking away the need for countries to own as many dollars. They're talking, and I just want to get in there. I'm sorry, I'm just reading this here. They're talking about how the People's Bank of China now and the Chinese have become the largest investor in all other emerging markets in the world now, and saying that all of those nations are more than likely going to be signing swap deals with the Chinese government. So just one more thing here as we watch this contract here. It's not slowing down like I was hoping, actually gaining speed. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. We got a blast from the past, but before I get to that, I just got an email from our bullion bank in California. They just told me they've got 100 more rolls of $half. So if you want to get something right now, U.S. Silver Eagles, you're going to be paying $3.25 over spot. They're not at 130 anymore. Obviously, silver's gone up quite a bit from $16 now, almost $16.75. $135 a roll on the pre-1965 silver $half. I've got 100 of them, so if you want to jump on that, the price per ounce, you're right at about $2, just a pinch over $2 an ounce over spot on the silver halves versus the $3.25 over spot on the U.S. Silver Eagles. And while we're on the break, we got the doorbell rang. Homer's here.
Hey, what's up?
What
How's
are you
it going?
doing? First of all, you're all sweaty.
I just got to tell you, it's hot outside. It's Arizona.
It's Arizona. The furnace is back on, but you told me you went and hit a bucket of balls.
Yeah.
See, we started our golf thing.
Our summer of golf.
Summer of golf, because once it gets hot, no one plays golf anymore because you got to have brain damage to be out there in the heat.
That's where we come in.
That's exactly right. And so we're getting competitive again about it. You are not allowed to hit golf. You can't practice.
Practice. We're talking about practice.
Well,
yeah, you know what? It was a good morning to go do it because I worked late last night. I got a full day of stuff today, and so I have a window of opportunity. I thought I'd go hit a bucket of balls.
I'm going to say this. This is what's hilarious about what he just said. Oh, I've got a full day of stuff. It's almost 10 o'clock, and you haven't done anything other than hit a bucket of golf balls.
I had a cup of coffee. That's about it. That's about it, man. That's about it. And I'll tell you what.
You're living the American dream.
I'm trying to. But, with all those things come adversity and come victories and all that stuff. I'm just another guy out here just trying to carve out his piece. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
It's tough. I'm still running my independent search business. I'm actively working for, I swear, just about every contractor here in the Valley, whether it's general contractor or heavy civil. And we're always looking for project managers, estimators.
Same thing, right? So everybody needs, from project engineers to estimators to pre-con to project managers, and everybody wants the same guy, right?
Well, you know what I'll tell you is Nancy Pelosi and those libtards would have you believe that everyone in the country is just devastated by the tax breaks that were given. Let me tell you what it's done. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Not enough people for those jobs now.
And right, they all want the same guy, right? They want the guy that's about 40, maybe 35, that's got 10 years experience. They don't want the guy that's 55.
Yeah, if you're
that's too old.
If you're getting silver, you're getting unqualified. Just a little unqualified if you got too much silver.
You may want to get the Grecian stuff out, right?
Absolutely. It works. Let me tell you, it'll help any situation. Or you could do what I do. I don't have a gray hair on me. Why? Because I shaved my head and I got rid of all my facial hair. I swear if it came in, I would look like Santa Claus.
That's what I look like now. And I'm only, you know what? You're a little older than me. Couple of 3 years older than me, right?
Right. Maturity not included,
right.
but yeah.
But yeah, right. And I'm as gray as can be. I got gray hair everywhere. I'm only 47. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, but I'm so glad you popped in, and I know that a lot of people keep asking what happened to him. He's not dead. He's out there actively getting involved. Apparently, his day doesn't start until 10 a.m., but neither here nor there. Life is good.
You tell them what you want.
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm jealous because I was driving to work at about 5:30 this morning.
I hear you. It's a grind out there. Like I said, I used to say this all the time. Everybody's broke. It's just at different levels. How hard are you working to get that bill paid? I don't know.
Well, speaking of broke, apparently Macy's is having more issues again this morning. This whole retail thing, and it's so funny because I was just talking to one of our customers yesterday and telling them that all of these retailers, they were all bought by these hedge funds. And when did they get bought? They got bought during the crash when the rates went to zero. And all these hedge funds, they bought these companies. These huge companies. You think about Sports Authority, Toys R Us, Sears is owned by a hedge fund, Macy's, and all of these other companies. They didn't put a single dollar into these. They just bought it with debt. And now that the interest payments are rising, none of these companies can actually afford to make the debt payment because they don't get a loan like we do. Like you buy a home, you get a 30-year fixed. It doesn't matter what the interest rates do. You're locked in unless you refinance, and this is your payment every month. Businesses you don't borrow billions like that. What you do is you're like, I want to pay the least amount of interest possible. And so the shorter the loan terms, the smaller the interest payment is. So they do real short loans, 1-year loans, maybe 2-year loans, because they want that interest payment to be really, really tiny, because they didn't actually put any cash into the companies. And their plan was, well, hey, in 2 or 3 years, when the economy gets better, we're going to unload these things and make a bunch of money. Well, 10 years later, it didn't get any better. And now interest payments are rising. So when they got to go and the new interest payments are due and they look at the new payment, they can't make them. You got problems. And this is why I say we've got at least 15 to 20% of all publicly traded companies, what I call zombies. And they're just like this. Morgan Stanley saying that Macy's continues to suffer challenges and is going to be, well, I guess, closing more stores. I don't know if a bankruptcy filing will come, but they are definitely struggling once again. Patriot Radio News Hour, a blast from the past was here. Final segment coming up. Final segment here. U.S. $20 Liberties, $13.95. Right, gold's up 7 today, $13.20. There's about 40 now, 40 of them available, and then after that, we're going to probably see, a $10 increase in the price of 20s. U.S. Silver Eagles, we know the story there now, so now you're up to $400 a roll. A better buy today. We got 100 more rolls of $50. They just got available today. They're in our one of the largest bullion banks in the country in San Diego. They're at $135 a roll. So at $135, I'll just give you the exact number here. You're paying $18.81, so about $2.18 over spot on rolls of $50 today at 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. But I wanted to talk, Homer, about your oldest, Austin. He's graduated from college.
Yeah, a year ago in March, he graduated from Grand Canyon University with a bachelor's degree in business.
A bachelor's degree in business. He's working 2 jobs right now.
Well, I'll tell you this. He immediately took a job with an IT firm.
Right.
As a media content coordinator for a company that had multiple websites, and it was the most boring job. He's like, Dad, I don't know how people do this for a living. I got to get out. And he wanted to pursue his passion. So he went to work for a youth detention center in downtown Phoenix, where he is in charge of a handful of young boys that are essentially in juvie. And he's a counselor there.
And he's always been a counselor type, like growing up and when in Anthem, like he was very active, one of the church youth leaders and all that stuff. He was
highly involved in HSM, high school ministry. And, in fact, he's just graduating another group of boys from that group that he was involved in. And so, yeah, he's really involved.
But he's working at there. He loves it, but he doesn't make any money.
Yeah, but
right?
if he's lucky, you're making a little above minimum wage.
But, right, he's going to still be living with Mom and Dad with that job.
Unfortunately, yes, he does live with me.
But
all my food.
All of that stuff, but he's taking matters into his own hands.
Well, yeah, he had a door open for him, and that door is in pharmaceutical sales, and it's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't know where he gets it from, but he's essentially working 2 jobs. In the morning, he goes out and sells from 8 until about 2 p.m., and the youth detention center, he works a swing shift that goes from 3 p.m. to midnight. So he gets home at around 12:31 because we live way north. That commute's a little bit of a drive. And the kid fills his belly, goes to bed, and he's up and selling pharmaceuticals.
Doing it all over again.
So he's working 2 jobs, and believe me, it's tough. I mean, him and his friends have tried to get, an apartment together. Have tried to get, I'm telling you, what
they all got degrees.
They all got degrees,
and they can't do it, and they do the math. Okay, if we all go in on it, let's start at No. I can't swing it. Because by the time you factor in not just the rent, you got to buy food, you got to pay the utilities, you got to this, that, the renter's insurance, all that stuff. Next thing you know, that's $1,000 a month. I don't got $1,000 a month. I can't do it.
And
even with roommates,
when he lives with Mom and Dad, he has the lifestyle of occasionally buying a new pair of sneakers, taking his girlfriend out for a date, actually having a little coin in his pocket. That's fun. It's just an interesting thing we're going through, because I asked him the other day, I'm like, how much money have you saved up?
Yeah,
what's in your vault?
What's in your vault? Because it's getting about time. 800-951-0592. Great to see Homer. Blast from the past. Take care. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow.